Welcome to another very special Turnbuckle Trash Talk Interview Wednesday. I am your officiant, Kent, and my special guest this week is the leader of the Spandex Parade with haircut. Grand Marshal. Grand Marshal of the Spandex Parade, Mikey Spandex. Mikey, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, I got some time to sit down with DMC a couple months back, but I figure even better, a few moments to sit down with you and talk about this crazy story that is your career. I mean, it starts, I don't even know where, we'll get to that, but it ends up with a WWE Performance Center tryout. It ends up with one of the fastest rising tag teams so far, Task Force. Let's just rewind it and take it back to the beginning. When did you discover wrestling? When did it first enter into your life and you became a fan, or let's go from there?
So wrestling started in my life when I was 4 years old. My brother introduced it to me. We were both huge fans during the Attitude Era. I remember my first match that I watched was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker were teaming up. I don't remember exactly who they were facing. I'm pretty sure it was Triple H and The Rock, maybe, when it was the corporation. And I was hooked from there. That was one of my first matches ever. And then from there, I continued to be a fan. My brother kind of tapered off a bit watching. We were in and out, obviously, like most fans are. Got a little older, still went in and out. And then I didn't really discover like independent wrestling outside of the WWE until, a few years ago. I wasn't too big in watching indie wrestling. I never got into it until I'm finding out where these guys come from. And that's when I discovered these other promotions, that there's a huge underground thing. And then I would say it was around August of 2017. I discovered Pro Wrestling 2.0, my current training school, and that's where I started. I started in August of 2017, and it's been like, I think the way I started is I learned to run before I could walk, and I got thrown straight into the fire, and I guess I handled it pretty well, at least based on where I'm at. I don't like to give myself too many pats on the back, but I think I did pretty well for myself in such a short time, being less than 2 years in. And especially with the tag team with Task Force, with me and Dante, that we're maybe 6 months together, and the steps we've taken, it's been more of leaps to face the teams that we face, to make the steps that we've taken, to be on Evolve so quickly in such a short time that it still blows my mind, and I can't believe where I'm at now.
Well, when did you decide this is what you wanted to do? I mean, you talked about it coming in and going out throughout your life, and that was the same with me. Like, there were periods where I just was not into it, and then periods where I might as well be a super fan. But when did you decide, I want to give myself a chance to do this? I want to take that leap, take that risk, and actually become a wrestler?
So that really, it was always a back and forth thing. I would say the year before, so in 2016, I did do one of those tryout videos, like almost probably every wrestler did for Tough Enough, just to see. My friends have been a huge influence on it. It's one of the few times that peer pressure is a good thing. So I'm sitting there, and actually fast forward to that August of 2017, I discovered 2.0, and I realized that's a convenient location for me. It's not too far, and it's still relatively close to where I live in Sanford. And I'm sitting here trying to plan things out, because my goal was to do what I wanted to do what I love, because I don't want to be bored with my life. So I went to school. I got my master's degree. I'm a school counselor outside of wrestling. So I did all of that because that's what I love to do. I love to help kids. I love to be there for kids, and I saw that as the best possible way to do it, while at the same time making money. And even my parents said if I ever wanted to pursue wrestling, which they were against, but they said when I do it, it's on my own time, on my own money, which is why they said get your career first, which is why I became a counselor first. So that was literally within my first year of counseling that I discovered 2.0, and that's when I set the game plan. Working in the school system, you're off in the summer, so my actual goal was to start wrestling in the summer of 2018. So I was planning late May, early June 2018 to do it. I talked with my friend Paul. He's one of my greatest pushes and influences. And he's the one that said, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to push and stick to your plan in June, do it, take off. Good for you. Or you pull the trigger now, because if you forget either one of those plans, you're going to regret it later. And I obviously decided to pull the trigger early and just say, screw it, I'm in. And I dove right in, and it's been a crazy, fun journey ever since.
Well, you've got this great, just all the stuff I didn't even know about you before, like being a school counselor, that's so cool. But now you've got this superhero origin story, because you've got your Clark Kent persona with your day job and this crazy superhero character with Mikey Spandex and wrestling. Do the kids that you deal with on a regular basis, do they know about the wrestling? And if so, what do they think about it?
So the current school I'm at, all the kids know. They think it's the coolest thing ever. They call me the wrestler guy. I even have one of my kids, she was a fan, but she knew who I was, not even from me saying it. She knew because her dad followed me. So she found out more about me, and she even found out about the tryout. And she's like, I heard about your tryout. And I'm like, how did you know? I didn't say anything or tell anyone. And she's like, my dad follows you. And I'm like, what? So he knew everything before I did, because he knew someone at the Performance Center too that works there. So he knew about all of it. And I'm like these people discover me. So all the kids and all the staff at my current school do know who I am and what I do. They don't know Mikey Spandex per se, because I just don't want them looking me up that much. I want to keep that confidentiality and that borderline separate. But some of the kids do know, because they looked it up and found it on YouTube or social media and stuff like that. And if they find it, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's fine, because there's nothing crazy or anything. I keep it as family friendly as I can, because I know I work with kids and I want to be an inspiration for the kids. That's one of my biggest reasons I'm still wrestling, is because I want to be that guy that says follow your dreams, and I mean it. Because I wanted to help kids, I wanted to be a counselor, I became a counselor. I wanted to wrestle, I wanted to continue wrestling, and I wanted to do both. I'm doing both. I'm literally following my dreams, and I can tell kids that without sounding generic or empty with what I say.
No, and that's absolutely fantastic, and it's one of the things that I notice about you is that you can be family friendly, but still have an edge. You can still play a bad guy, but you're playing a bad guy that you wouldn't mind children watching. And I think that's so cool. Now, one of the things that I like most about you as a performer is that you really have tailored a persona. You're not one of those wrestlers where it's just my name's on my tights and I'm me turned up to 11. You've got the Spandex Parade. When I first saw you, I think I was reffing one of your matches at Full Throttle, and I immediately became a fan of yours, because I was like, Spandex Parade, that's awesome. You had the t-shirt with the marching on it and the tearaway and everything. What do you think inspired you to come up with this Spandex character?
So Mikey Spandex actually didn't come from wrestling. Mikey Spandex, before I started wrestling, I was a CrossFit competitor. So at one of my competitions, there was a leggings and spandex contest. So instead of doing a full contest, going with the contest and just wearing leggings, I was like, you know what? I like costumes. I love dressing up, and Halloween's one of my favorite holidays. So I was like, let me go all out. And at the time was when Tyler Breeze was super hot in NXT. So I dressed as Tyler Breeze at the competition. I had the fur boot covers, the fur vest, crazy leggings, which you've probably seen in a match or two where I'm wearing robot dinosaurs with unicorns and all that stuff. I won that leggings contest at the competition, and people were like, oh my gosh, you got to keep doing it. So at CrossFit competition, that's when I started collecting leggings. Even to the point that I got sponsored by leggings companies. I'm currently sponsored by Wild Bangarang, UK-based, which is also a huge license for WWE. So they work with them as well. So that became a huge thing in CrossFit for me. Every competition I had to wear leggings, or somebody's like, is something wrong? And so when I started wrestling, I was like, I can be Mikey Spandex in wrestling too. And one day I had a hard time figuring out what to do. What more can I do with Mikey Spandex besides CrossFit? What works well with Mikey Spandex? And that's where the Spandex Parade came from. So Spandex Parade came from wrestling. because I'm like, I got to think of something to call my fans, something to call the people that like me. And that's what the Spandex Parade is. The Spandex Parade are the fans, which is why I'm your Grand Marshal. So look at the fans. I don't ever say it, but it's kind of implied that you guys are my parade and I am your Grand Marshal leading the way and marching you to victory. So that's how and that's where the Spandex Parade came from.
Well, and I can see this vision in my head of like this WrestleMania entrance with the marching band all wearing spandex. And it's such a beautiful image in my head. And you created that image.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool that you didn't create a character for wrestling. You had a persona that just happened to coincide with wrestling so cleanly. So that's cool. Did you draw inspiration, not necessarily for your character, but for your style, from any other wrestlers? Like you mentioned CrossFit. When I think of CrossFit, I immediately think Seth Rollins, of course. CrossFit Jesus, I think is what they call him. Did you were there certain wrestlers you connected with that you were watching on TV that you were like, I want to be like that guy, or I want to draw something from that guy? Did it do anything to determine who you'd be?
So I've always been a fan of the bigger, powerful guys that were still somewhat athletic. Always seeing those guys were huge inspirations for me in wrestling because I wanted to do power stuff, but I'm a small guy. So that I can't pick up necessarily everyone, but that's where CrossFit comes in. You've seen my videos on social media where I'm squatting over 400 pounds and doing stuff because I want to prove that I can pick people up while still being a small guy. So I pick up a lot of inspiration, at least from current guys. Obviously AJ Styles, one of the best hybrid wrestlers out there. Hands down, if anything, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, if not the greatest. So AJ Styles is a huge influence. Big E, powerhouse, one of the strongest pound-for-pound guys in wrestling. Cesaro, another one. But if I had to go further back, I would say, oh my goodness, probably Eddie Guerrero. Technical as all can be, but also still being stylish and a little bit cocky. I get a lot of persona from him. Another persona that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but I still talk about to this day because in the ring he was phenomenal, is Chris Benoit. That aggression is something I love. His aggression is what inspires me for as far as what to bring into the ring, especially as a bad guy, because you want to be aggressive while still, I don't have to do dirty moves for the crowd to hate me. I just need to be ruthless. And he was one of those guys, good or bad, he was vicious in the ring. So he was also a huge inspiration to watch.
No, it's a guy, he's a perfect example of intensity all the time, 24 hours a day. Whether he was giving a promo, he didn't need to say a word to bring that intensity. And I think that's so cool that you found that inspiration in him. So let's talk about the journey to becoming Task Force, because one of the things I like about Task Force is it incorporates both of your styles. You got the tearaway pants, but you also guys have the camo, which he was using before. How did Task Force come about from your perspective? We heard a little bit from DMC, but what about from you?
So I always call the idea of Task Force the Avengers because of the fact that Dante is Nick Fury. He had this idea of bringing some of the best up-and-coming wrestlers together and forming a team. Task Force was not originally supposed to be only 2 people. Task Force, we actually had about 6. I'm not going to tell you who they are because you never know who might show up and join Task Force. It's still possible. So there was originally, and there still is, I will drop that hint out there for you guys, there still is a picture out there somewhere of the original idea of Task Force with all the original idea members. But we don't share it because we don't want you to know, because they may show up eventually. But that idea of Task Force was that. The best up-and-coming wrestlers coming together and forming that team, because tag team wrestling is so hot right now. Another huge influence on that is Gabe of Evolve. Our first Evolve tryout, we ended up on Evolve. We had a great time. We did great, and we sat there and thought about it. And keep in mind, Dante mentioned the idea of Task Force way before our Evolve tryout, and he came out, he just said, that's an idea, long-term plan. So that was an idea he gave me probably in July of last year, probably, July-ish. So that was, and at that time, the idea was set. Gabe kind of was the catalyst from Evolve. We had that Evolve tryout. We worked well in Evolve. Gabe liked us that he remembered us. But we could tell there's something else clicking in our heads and in his head, that there needs to be something more. And we just observed, because I also have a bachelor's degree in sociology. So with my bachelor's, I love to study popular culture and trends. So wrestling obviously is a huge part of my studying and trending. So I look at what Evolve's doing, I look at what other promotions are doing, and one of the things I saw was Evolve didn't have much of a tag team division. They were pulling a lot from NXT. I saw that ACW didn't have a lot of tag teams. You have the Golden Opportunity, you have the International Superstars, and then other than that, there's not much here. So you look at all that and you see there's a need. So we assess that and realize, let's follow that need, follow that trend. So we were just saying, let's get the ball rolling, let's start playing. With Mikey Spandex, it's easy for me to do that because with the camo, Mikey Spandex, all it is whatever leggings I want to wear, I'm going to wear it as my gear. Which is why I said, as long as we got different colors, I'll wear whatever camo you want. So that was the idea. As soon as we saw that, it was like, okay, we have that idea. Task Force might get the ball rolling a little more. Then one day, we were at a show. A tag team didn't show up. It was a tag title match, and it was originally supposed to be a standard tag match for the tag titles. Only 2 teams showed up, and it wasn't the 2 teams planned. So the promoter was like, hey, we need another team. They put us in there. We ended up in a triple threat hardcore tag team match for the tag team titles. And on our first night together, we won the tag team championships at Go Wrestle in Daytona. And since then, it's taken off. As soon as we posted that picture of us as a team, we got a few more contacts. And as we grew to network a little more teams wanted us. We told Gabe at Evolve, we told everyone at Evolve, like, hey, we're a tag team now. And they're like, okay. And now you're seeing some tag teams come out of the woodwork. We ended up facing Milk Chocolate last time on Evolve, and they're a phenomenal team as well. So it was a lot of, we're starting to face teams we didn't think we'd face. I'm starting to face people I didn't think I'd face. We faced the Metro Brothers, who we're going to face again this coming Saturday. We face that classic tag team. And those are teams I would have, as a singles competitor, I never thought I would have faced, even one-on-one with one of those members. So it's been a very exciting and crazy opportunity.
Well, and it's led to success in a singles career as well. You're the 2.0 heavyweight champion.
Well, let me correct you on that one. I'm not. So I posted that picture because I just needed to change my picture on Facebook. I am not the Pro Wrestling 2.0 heavyweight champion. So what happened was that I lost my title to Angel Fashion in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Selena De La Renta got involved, spit water in my mouth. He ended up hitting me with his finisher, and 1, 2, 3 won the match. He ended up attacking the ref again, which he's known for doing, and was stripped of the title. So now Angel Fashion and I are going at it actually next Tuesday, one-on-one in a ladder match for the currently vacated 2.0 heavyweight title. But my plans are to be the 2-time 2.0 heavyweight champion.
Well, even then, though, you've seen the heavyweight gold. You're in contention for the heavyweight gold again. You get a WWE Performance Center tryout. You guys were on Evolve. Like, this is leading to not just big things on a tag team level, but it seems like it is having some influence on a singles level as well. And that's just absolutely amazing. Now, let's talk about your WWE Performance Center tryout. How did that come about? What was that experience like? I've heard there's no more grueling drills than there is at a tryout. How would you speak to all that?
It's all about doing the right thing, knowing the right people, and having that respect for those right people. And I would say that was a huge influence on how I got my tryout, on top of, I guess, being a pretty decent wrestler to make it to where I was. But it was a very grueling, exhausting tryout. And I would honestly say it wasn't that bad during, because you're constantly moving, you're constantly doing something. And in CrossFit, that's what I'm doing. You're constantly moving, you're constantly doing something. So physically, I was prepared. I think what I wasn't prepared for was after the tryout. I was absolutely dead when the tryout was done. I was completely exhausted, and I didn't even realize it. But it is definitely a tiring, exhausting, but amazing experience. Even if, because it's just the caliber of people you see. And I would even say I am nobody. I am a nobody, even in wrestling, even in life. I am no one. I was a kid that did CrossFit, a kid who weightlifted, a kid who decided to start wrestling. And I'm in here in the ring with former NFL stars, models, the girl who won the Titan Games with The Rock. Like, I'm in here with super athletes. And I was like, I have the ability to wrestle. So, but like the fact that I was up there made me realize how thankful I was for that opportunity, because like I said, the caliber of people that I had some form of wherewithal to keep up with them, even though it's an experience for them that they've never done. They've never done certain drills in training. They've never done any form of wrestling practice or training. And the fact that I could keep up with them in some way, shape, or form was a very eye-opening experience. And it made me very thankful for what I could do.
Well, I'm going to ask you 2 questions because it seems like they're getting ready for the show. These are the final 2 questions I ask everyone. Number 1, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to get into wrestling in any capacity? You know, what would you tell them before they even start the process?
Don't give up. Just because the first day sucks does not mean it's going to suck the whole time. You're going to have your ups and downs. That's wrestling. That's life. You're going to have your ups and downs. Do not give up on the first try. Keep trying. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. It's going to happen. Not everything's for everybody. I've tried other things. I've tried other sports. They weren't for me. That's why I'm here where I am. But if you love it, definitely don't give up. Even if you're hurt, even if you get injured, there's recovery. Take the time. That is another thing I cannot stop urging. Rest. People think in independent wrestling, you need to take anything and everything and do anything and everything and continue to do everything. It's okay to say you need a break. It's okay to say you need a day or 2 off from the gym. It's okay to say you need a day or 2 off from training to rest, because your body can only take so much, and doing that will better you in the long run.
Now, if you could change one thing in wrestling, whether it's backstage, audience perception, you know, getting bookings, anything like that, what would you change?
There's a lot of things I would change, but I think it's one thing I see over and over. Is fans be fans. They're constantly trying to get heavily involved when just enjoy the show. It's what it is. We're here to give you a show. We're not here to hand out our phone numbers. We're here to put on a great show, so let it be a great show. We don't need that extra involvement where a fan tries to jump over the rail. We don't need that extra involvement where a fan tries to tackle a wrestler down. We don't need that kind of involvement. We know what to do. We're trained on what to do. So we don't need that kind of involvement. We just enjoy it.
Now I want to give you the opportunity to promote anything you want to promote. Maybe not specific shows, because I'm not sure when this is going to air yet, but if there's specific promotions that people can look at and see you in, or social media, anything like that, this is your chance.
Well, so you can see me on Pro Wrestling 2.0. We're monthly. You can catch me on SWA Southeastern in Pavo, Georgia. That's the 3rd Saturday of every month. ACW, you can see me here pretty much every Wednesday for the next few weeks now that I'm off from counseling. ACW first Saturday of every month. We're there now too. Oh my goodness, there's Go Wrestle every Friday in Daytona. You will see that all the time. You can stream that as well on GoWrestle.com. If you stream and subscribe, you'll see us every week no matter what, and you can watch previous episodes from that. If you follow Task Force on YouTube, we're slowly but surely starting to get episodes out called Declassified, where you get to see the ins and outs of how Task Force works on the road. You get to see Dante hate me, because I don't hate him at all, ever. But I say some things and he just hates me for it. You can follow me on social media, Mikey Spandex 1992, Mikey Spandex Official on Facebook, Mikey Spandex on Twitter. I unfortunately don't use it too much. I've been told I need to use it more. But if you follow those social medias, I guarantee you'll see something. And unlike some higher up wrestlers, every comment and anything you see is straight from me. You can follow Sam C on Facebook, because you'll see me comment, and that'll be a good laugh for you too, which that's a story we'll save for another time.
Well, Mikey, thank you so much for joining me. We got to do this again in a couple of months and check in with how things have gone.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.